Music has been outlawed, and Ernest and Celestine are caught up in the resistance, trying to bring it back. Ernest and Celestine, A Trip to Gibberishia, is the follow-up to the 2012 animated film loved by so many. There's also a TV series that I just found out about. I haven't seen it. Both movies, however, focus on the unlikely, occasionally frowned upon friendship between the innocent young mouse, Celestine, and the gruff, world-weary bear, Ernest. The two, finding themselves alone in the world, bond over a mutual love of art and music, become each other's adoptive families. The first film has a harsher tone at times to go with its difficult lessons and depictions of intolerance. But here, we find a more gentle tale as the duo explore Ernest's origin, where they travel to his native Gibberishia to find a luthier to repair Ernest's beloved violin, which Celestine accidentally ruins at the beginning of the film. It's actually Ernest's own fault, but the incident nevertheless reminds us quickly of the differences in the two characters here. Ernest is gruff, he's got a temper, he growls when he gets worked up, he's his own worst enemy, actually, sometimes, and has an all-around rough exterior which he's developed through years of just survival and self-preservation. Celestine is the exact opposite in many ways. Small, not scary at all, kind-hearted, and willing to see and believe the best in people. And while at times seeming a bit naive, these are the qualities that bring Ernest and Celestine together and keep them together as a type of modern family. Now, once in Gibberishia, they notice some peculiar things going on. For one, the daily concerts in the park and the roaming musicians in the street that Ernest remembers all play only one sad note. And there are bands of roaming police with hoses that spray birds when they land to sing. Also, the luthier shop is closed, and the luthier is suspected of leading a criminal uprising. Music has been outlawed, and Ernest and Celestine are caught up in the resistance, trying to bring it back. We also meet Ernest's estranged family, his mother, conveniently the prison doctor who gets them out of jail for playing a concertina and taunting police with it, and his father, an even more gruff and imposing figure than Ernest, and the chief judge, who banned music because of Ernest's refusal to stay in Gibberishia and follow in his father's footsteps, as all good sons supposedly do. Instead, he set off to become a musician. Dad now offers to reverse that law and free the musicians from jail and restore music to their world, in effect, if Ernest stays and becomes a judge, finally. You'd think this is an easy pass for Ernest, given what we know about him, but seeing the misery he's caused in his homeland and the hard life he's led in pursuit of his dreams so far, Ernest actually considers it. The film is deceptively simple, but deals with some big questions that kids and even grown-ups, frankly, wrestle with, about what does a good life really mean? What does success mean? And what are you willing to trade to get it? What do you owe to your family, to your lineage? And where do you draw the line about family? At one point in the film, I felt sort of a little bit of a sour note from the writers when Ernest dismisses Celestine a bit too easily as she pleads with him to fight for what he truly believes instead of capitulating to the system and to his dad. Ernest is, at that point, seeing himself as part of a bloodline, essentially, and seems resigned to his fate as a judge, and tells Celestine that she should just go do whatever she wants to do without him. It's a bit heartbreaking because you don't expect it from these two, and it throws into question the entire premise of their relationship, of their friendship. But I think it was actually clever because these hard breaks in families, genetic or otherwise, can happen, and we never know how to deal with it. And it even made their final reconciliation the more poignant because Celestine, pure of heart, fights for her friend in the long run anyway, keeping the door open for Ernest to walk back through. Something his genetic family didn't really do, not in that same loving way, not without strings attached, so to speak. So in the end, we understand that family is a belief, sometimes backed up by DNA, but not all the time. And Ernest and Celestine set the world to rights, but they also return to their life together at home. Now, I've seen the relationship between Ernest and Celestine looked upon with suspicion online, even described as an old man living with a young girl. But I have to say, I wonder if that's not missing part of the point here. These two inhabit a world, admittedly a child's tale, but a world where things are at face value. People are good at their core, or at least possess potential for good at their core. And Ernest and Celestine's relationship to one another, while not always well defined, is no more suspect in that world than, say, a dad and a daughter's. Yes, Ernest seems dangerous at times. He takes on the police with some regularity, in fact, but in the end, he is pure of heart and uses his gifts, so to speak, for good. He protects Celestine, but he's also nurtured by her. In the same way, Celestine becomes more self-reliant and more self-assured for having known Ernest. But would this pure of a transaction ever really happen in the real world with characters such as these, outside of movies? Not often, perhaps. Not outside the realm of maybe adoption. And given Ernest's background check, probably that would be precluded as an option anyway. But that's why it works here. Because here we get to see not, the files on Ernest that the police have, so much as what's in his heart and what Celestine sees there, and vice versa. These movies say, in effect, wouldn't it be great if we got to actually judge one another by the content of our character? And while I know we're not there yet, and perhaps may never fully be, it's nice to have a story like Ernest and Celestine to keep our moral compass tuned in a good direction. A trip to Gibberishia, in the end, is a heartwarming, never boring, full of action. The two are essentially the purest pair of, I think, anti-heroes, I would call them, you've ever likely come across. And that makes them unique in kids' media, I think. The film is streaming, I think, on Prime at the moment, and the original 2012 movie is free on Canopy right now, too, if you missed that and want to catch up. Okay, thanks to our current members and donors flashing on the screen right now. You really are making a difference. So become a member if you're interested. Check out the merch below and subscribe and like this video if you'd be so kind, and all of that good stuff. Okay, check out Ernest and Celestine, A Trip to Gibberishia, and I'll see you soon.